today's guests, Bella and Milena.
Okay, so let's start with the first question that will open our conversation.
Yes, let's open.
For you, what is love?
But last time, different guess, but I think I described it as love would be anything or anyone that gives you more power in the sense of survivorship. So anything that hurts you, you're not going to love it. Anything that makes you better, you will.
Yes. So today we want to split this love thing in many different things.
Okay.
So we would like you to talk about marriage,
Okay.
love,
Love.
and sex.
What about in love? In love. We'll talk about in love also.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, so I'll start with, I got to talk about all of them.
Yes.
Okay.
I think start giving your what do you think
And make
the meaning of each thing, the meaning
Okay.
for you.
Yeah, sure.
And then we mix everything.
Yeah, and I think love can be so broad because we want to talk about sex and marriage also, then maybe focus more on in love or love between two people,
Yeah.
not just generally what you love. Anything
Sure.
that makes you love.
Okay. Do you love me?
Of course I love you.
So, what do you love about me? Why do you love me?
I love you because
Too much time.
no.
No.
It's easy for me to be honest around you.
Yeah.
I feel like I can speak freely around you and I don't question what I say. And I feel like it's safe to make mistakes and change my mind around you. And I feel at ease around you. And I feel like you have my best interests at heart, in your heart.
Right.
And yeah.
So you feel like with me in your life, you are better. You have the power to express yourself. You're better when I'm around than let's say if I wasn't around. I mean, I'm sure you'll do just fine without me.
Yeah.
But, you appreciate me being in your world. Right? So in that way, and I agree with that, especially because it's paid now. In that way, it's kind of like an egocentric type of a thing, right? We love, but we love because it does something for us. And it's not bad. There's nothing bad about it. But, in the stories they tell us in childhood or the movies, the romantic movies, it's not egocentric, right? It's like there's a lot of sacrificing and it's almost tragic, right? Like somebody would die for somebody. But these are stories, they're not real. But these are what we watch, and sometimes we make the mistake of thinking that they're real, and it kind of messes up with our sense of what we should do, So I do think, and I don't, and just to make sure that I'm not miscommunicating, I'm not saying it's selfish. I define selfish as something kind of negative that you're doing something bad to somebody in order to gain something for yourself.
Right.
Nobody should be doing that. But egocentric is just, it comes from you. Like there's something about you that is better, right? And technically, that's what I think love is. So that's love, okay? Somebody, or even a thing, this book on this table, is it in the frame? Or this boom? I know the boom is on the frame, I asked for it. This boom is very fluffy. Hello, boom. And for whatever reason, I like it. Maybe I even love it because it's in the frame and it's funny. So I think that I love this boom being in the frame. So that kind of love can be for an object. It could be for a person. It could be for the world. And that's really all it is. But it's all for me, really, because I'm enjoying it. So now in love would be more of an emotional thing.
Right.
And yeah, I learned the hard way that, that's something that it maybe is too extreme. And maybe we shouldn't go there. Then you have, let me do like a broad side. Then we have the matrimony, right? I'm trying to remember all of them. Matrimony is weird because we somehow involve a governmental body into love, right? We make legal rules to our romance, which is weird. And money, yeah. Well, the money part, the point of it was, it was a good intention, like everything is. Everything always starts as a good intention, and somehow the human beings mess it up. So it starts as, let's protect, a couple that one of them is making, bringing in, the food and, the bread, so to speak. And the other one is doing just as important of a job, but if they separated, that person will be at a disadvantage. So it's meant to protect, But what ends up happening is human beings come in, greed comes in, and now you have manipulation of the system, greed, and all of a sudden, it's not even about love. It's not even about romance. It's all about the dollar signs, tax evasion, and then even if with kids are involved, it makes it even worse. And we do that. We give our rights, to decide for what's good for our kid that me and you, we don't have a kid, but if we did this imaginary kid, we procreate, we give the government the right to decide what's his, destiny. I mean, that's kind of weird. Like, why would we do something like that? So matrimony is like the government trying to get involved in our romance. Why? Pretty easy, because the easiest way to manipulate people is with emotions. Give them emotions and they'll do stuff that is not rational.
You brought up a couple of things that I think are really interesting. Kind of what love is expected to be in terms of sacrifice when you see it in a fairy tale type setting,
right?
And also how love comes from ego and yourself. And I want to ask you what you think unconditional love is, because that's something that's brought up a lot.
Yeah.
I think that is sort of what's presented in this fantasy of love, and then what's perpetrated through claiming love through marriage is that there's this unconditionality, and at what point expecting unconditional love and completely taking the ego out of the equation puts you into like a negative self state where you're then in this sacrifice and you think that's what the point is.
Yeah.
If that translates into love and marriage, the way we were just talking about marriage, I guess my question more specifically would be, do you think that marriage can undermine the truth of love and ask you to step away from love and enact a different kind of commitment?
So it's somewhat of a compound question. Yeah. Let me answer the first part. So the first part is about love being egoistic versus how it's portrayed in the stories, which is more about sacrifice. It's actually unconditional, almost, like you say. And yes, that statement, unconditional love, is given so much energy these days. It's everybody wants to say that this love is so good, it's so great, that it's unconditional, it's pure. I don't think that unconditional love is a healthy thing. Let me be the first to say it. I think that's actually a terrible idea. If you practice unconditional love, you basically put yourself in a situation, and I'm just being realistic. You are in the control of others, and you cannot control others, right? So whatever comes your way, and I'm not speaking out of fear, because there will be people that will reciprocate, but there will also be people that will not, and not only will not, will actually manipulate it. So if you want to give unconditional love, that means that you're giving somebody some energy of some form, whether it's money, whether it's attention, whether it's saying nice things about them, whatever it is. If that person technically does not owe you anything, and that's the whole point of unconditional love, right? And what if that person sees you in a completely different value system? Because that person sees you as an easy way to fix all their problems because they're, they can get stuff from you and they will never have to give anything back. It will be an easy fix. All their problems will be solved, whatever it is. If they needed attention, they got it. Did they need to give any attention back? Not really. Like, nobody said that they do, So they suck your energy out.
Right.
And before you know it, you're depleted. And when you're depleted, how good are you to anybody? You start this unconditional love from a good place that, I want to do good to the world. I want to give, but at the end, you are depleted and you have nothing, not only to give the person that has sucked everything out of you, but to everybody else and to yourself as well. You completely cease to love yourself, which is also not healthy, not good. So that's why it sounds great. Everybody's talking about unconditional love, but I don't see it. I mean, realistically, it's something that we need to say to ourselves. It's a fantasy. And if we cannot have these delusional hopes just because they sound amazing, and if we just believe in it, they will happen, because it is not in line with natural law. We cannot just manifest whatever we want. I wish we could, but we can't. We need to be okay with that. So that's about unconditional love. Yeah.
Okay, just really quick, on a more personal note, you hesitated when you were talking about like your personal experience of being in love. And I wanted to ask if you feel like some of your original conditioning, like when you were younger and then became an adult and got in relationships the first time and had the experience of the emotion of love and felt yourself being in love, if you feel like you had conditioning towards this fantasy that you outgrew. And
I didn't hesitate. I just basically said that I made a mistake, and mistake that hopefully I've learned, because it wasn't the first time that I made that mistake. But yes, you're absolutely right. I was conditioned like that. And that's really, our personality comes from past learning, and we learned something very long time ago and we just believed it to be a fact. And it's not that easy to change it, because you don't even realize it's a problem to begin with. You think that everybody is like you. You think that everybody is identical in your value system by default, but that's not true. So I'm walking around and thinking that, wow, I am so lucky. I fell in love 4 times in my life, and I felt very lucky. And at the time, so the first one was, and they all kind of, let me tell you about each and every one of them. So the first one was when I fell in love with my ex-wife. That relationship actually turned out very well. Did I actually fall in love? Probably not, but I wanted to mimic like the fantasy of a nice story, a romantic story. And at the time, I believed it. And what happened was my partner reciprocated and liked the way I treated her. So she treated me the same way, and it worked. So good, right? Like, why not do that? That's kind of what I believed in. Next, I had another partner, same exact thing. I gave almost like unconditional love, and she presented it back to me. So she reciprocated. Great, amazing. I was like, wow, how lucky am I? Some people don't even fall in love once in their life. I fell in love twice. And then that lasted for 3 years. The third one was the first time I got a smack in the face. Here I am, so lucky. I get a third time and I fell in love. But this one did not reciprocate. And I just could not even almost understand it because it didn't make any sense. Like, it's supposed to be reciprocated, it's supposed to be natural. It always has been in the past. But what really happened is that, she would basically, I'm not going to talk further because I don't know what's going on in her head, but she was not reciprocating. And I couldn't possibly explain it. I don't think I even thought about it too much. I just imagined that she was reciprocating, even though she wasn't. And I would only realize that she wasn't after I was out of this in-love stage. The problem with the in-love stage is that it's very emotional, and emotions are not rational. And if everything works good, then great. But emotions, they're uncontrollable. If we are led by our emotions, like, it's kind of a wild card, right? Wherever they go, you're gonna follow. And it could be good or it could be bad. It could be both. It could be a roller coaster. And I only realized it after, and I'm like, oh man, how did this happen? How did I not see this? Obviously, I didn't learn my lesson because there was a number 4. So in that one, again, the same thing happened, right? Fell in love again. Again, I thought she was in love with me, and I'm still not sure if she was or not. And it's the weirdest, most confused state. But obviously, she was not in love in the same way I was. So again, another one that doesn't reciprocate in the same way. And who knows? Maybe some of it is my fault. I have no idea. I'd like to say, and I believe, that I did everything right, that I acted honorably. But, everybody has different perspectives. And, she didn't share that perspective with me. So here I am trying to figure this out. What happened? Like, I did everything right. Why didn't it work? So it just makes sense to conclude that it's not a good thing to be in love, because it's like you can go here or there. We're just supposed to throw ourselves into this very, like a gamble, right? We have no idea. Once you go emotional, you won't really see the truth anymore, because now the emotions are creating a reality for you. So, and then you come out the other end either saying, oh, that was great, or, oh my God, what happened? So I, at least my conclusion from all this, and a lot of people may disagree with me, I would rather stick to what is in line with the rest of the universe, which means emotions are a lot of times delusional, right? They kind of paint a picture that is not there. Why? Because of survivorship. There's an advantage. There's an advantage there. But I don't want to use emotions to lead me. I want to use rationale and reasoning. And being in love will not allow me to do that. It masks it. So I have to limit how much I go in emotionally and go in halfway. And I have to maintain that, even if I want to. Even if I want to be more in love, I will have to stop myself, because I cannot allow the emotions to lead the way. I have to be able to lead my emotions, because otherwise I will get lost, and I don't want to get lost. Cool. So that's in love.
First, I would like to add that I think that most people, they make a big mistake between passion and love.
Yes.
Because for me, the excitement you feel at the beginning, the butterflies in your stomach, this is a very limited period that you feel it, like sometimes only 1 week. And then you go and it will become love.
Yes.
Most of the people, they want to feel it all the time.
Right.
So they say, I did marry this girl, but now she don't make me feel like that. I don't feel the butterflies. I don't feel the tension, but you only can feel it at the beginning.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And so I'll add to that. Okay. So the butterflies is, obviously, we don't have butterflies in our stomach. The last time I did surgery, I didn't see any there. So we can all rest assured there's no butterflies in our stomach. But that feeling is the emotion, right? So our heart palpitates, like it, and we feel like there's something taking over us, and we cannot control it. But we're really attracted to this person. But that is the emotion. And here's a good example of how the emotion will lead us astray, because the emotion tells us, you're really attracted to this. I guess I am. And you go in, and then the emotion just disappears. Why? Because the emotion doesn't last. It never does.
Yes.
And then you're like, wait, where did the emotion go? What am I supposed to do now? Now you don't have the reasoning. You don't have the rationale why you went in there in the first place. And the emotion left you, So now you're like, oh, emotion, am I not in love anymore? Like, did something happen? And you're asking questions that shouldn't be asked. You know, like if it all started with reason from the first place, it would have stayed.
Yeah.
You know, because the reason, you know, like, that's why that's the only reason why human beings are slightly better than all the other species. You know, at least we have that. So let's at least use it. The emotions, you know, that even dogs have that. You know, cats, every species has. Now, I'm not saying that humans are better, but we do have that advantage. You know, so let's use that. And yeah, that's a good example of in love making the whole relationship not succeed and not be sustainable. Maybe it doesn't even need to be sustainable, right? What's wrong with like falling in love and then finding somebody else, falling in love, finding somebody else? Because if you were emotional getting in, you're gonna be emotional getting out. So now you have to detach. So you had all that beautiful passion, amazing sex and all that when you went in, right? The opposite, the exact opposite will happen when you get out. You'll have amazing anger, you know, amazing, you know, bad emotion, negative towards yourself, towards the partner. And that's not helpful. That's not constructive. It would be much better if you went in easy, so you could come out easy, and it won't be all this almost like a bipolar kind of roller coaster, right? Which nobody wants. There's not, I mean, unless you're an artist and you need it to create, so it's important for your, you know, for the livelihood. Most people do not want that roller coaster. They want to be stable. So yeah, great examples.
Sure. So do you think now when you approach a potential partner, a potential love with your newer or learned ideology of understanding love by the way that
Hopefully,
you
yeah.
feel, and measuring your investment or sacrifice or dedication to that other person immediately, are you doing that with the idea that the love would be sustained longer? Because ultimately it sounds like it comes from a place of protecting your own emotional stability, and so with that approach, like, is that the way that you're stepping back? Is that the way
You are very right about this. So what I'm doing is not necessarily something that anybody else should be doing, because I'm in a different place in life. I already had my monogamy. I already have a kid. I don't need to experience it again, because I already had that experience. And my value system is in exploring. So I would actually like to explore more the non-monogamous way. Even though I'm very comfortable and I actually like the monogamy. But you're right, I am going to actually protect myself, because the advantage of the monogamy are not worth the harms of it blowing up.
Sure.
If you asked me the same question before I was married, I wouldn't say that. I would say the advantage of monogamy and experiencing a relationship and a partner and talking to him like every day, and you know, like, it would be beautiful. It was beautiful. But the dark side of it is to me right now at this time in my life is more harmful than the benefit. Okay. For you, it may be different. For most people, especially since you're younger, right? But considering I've kind of past that part, I don't need to take that risk. And that's why there's no reason for me to take that bet, you know. So that's why I'm going to do that. I also don't want to get to a point where I am harmed so many times that I will start concluding that I shouldn't really let anybody in. And that's also a problem, right? I don't want to get to that point. So I'm protecting myself, not just for my own sanity, but also because I don't want to become too guarded, if that makes sense. I'm putting in some kind of a barrier for the purpose of not having to put more barrier, you know? Because at some point you get hurt enough times, your subconscious is going to be like, stop, you know, stop talking to people, be an introvert, you know? People are no good, it's going to tell you. And I don't want my subconscious to tell me that. I won't
But I
explode
don't
people.
know anyone that have died from love. So
No, you won't die. But imagine a person that every half a year has to go through a very traumatic, very emotional breakup. Do you think that person will keep doing that every half year for the rest of their life? No, it's not going to happen.
maybe
That's-
yes,
Really?
but then you not learn how to deal with love, and you learn how to deal with the pain.
That person, I cannot imagine any human.
But I can't believe that someone can fall in love every 6 months. You are a lucky one for falling
So I
in
was
love
lucky.
once, four times in your life.
I wasn't lucky. I was just going by the reality that I thought was there, but it wasn't. It was just sheer ignorance, really. I was just following a program that I thought existed, but it didn't. And my breakups were actually proof. It's basically the universe saying, "Hey, something is off in your thinking," And as much as I would love to say that love, that it does exist, that beautiful story, if I keep getting that feedback from the world that there's something wrong with it, I have to listen. Otherwise I'll be delusional.
Yeah.
Right? Just like try to grow wings on your back. If I really think that I can do it, and the world will obviously show me that I can't, if I continue doing it again and again and again and again to the rest of my life, obviously I'm delusional. And also I'll be wasting my life. And I'll never be in the flow. I'll never be in line with what's going on. It's not going to be a very healthy life, So I have to listen. You have to listen to what the world tells you in response to your behavior.
Oh, actually, first you said in marriage that you think sex is not the most important. So in marriage, then, if we're just on these three things, then love would be more important to you in marriage. But what do you think love's role is in sex?
Okay, so love, I see it as kind of like the big picture, right? That's the attraction.
Okay.
All right. Then, like I said, something about that person or something you want it to be in your world. A part of it may be sex. The question is, how much part of it? Is it 90% of it or is it 10% of it? If it's 90% of it, if it's mainly sex, then what's going to happen when you stop liking to have sex with that person? Does that mean you lost your love? If it's 90%, then yes, that means you lost love. And I think, at least for me, and I can only speak about this from a first person perspective because different people have very different values of sex. I see sex as something that is almost like a drug, it gives you a good feeling and that's it, and sure, if you love somebody and you have good sex, great, that's a bonus, but I think that to have a sustainable relationship and to avoid the breakups and the hardship and to have a lifelong partner, I don't think that sex by itself can do it. Maybe to a person that, maybe if you get two people that really sex is a big value of theirs, then those two people may work for them. But I think in general, people want to trust. I think that people want to know that their reality is not being manipulated by others. And maybe it's just me. I don't know. But that's the way I see it. I wouldn't want my partner to deceive me. I would expect more from my partner. So for me, and it's probably very different for everybody else, but for me, that's the biggest bond. And there's like smaller bonds. I always visualize it like almost like a cord, like a big cord. There's smaller cords and there's bigger cords, and trust will be the biggest cord, the one that's hardest to break. If you break that, the whole relationship for me will fall apart. Smaller cord, for me, it will be like sex, for instance. If that breaks, let's say, I don't know, lose interest, it's not going to do anything to the relationship. Not for me, at least, If my partner, though, for them, for whatever reason, it's stronger, it's probably going to be a problem for them, but probably would never happen because the relationship requires to have, some values in line. Right. It's very unusual that a relationship would have one person really liking sex and another person caring most about, I don't know, trust. And those people are somehow sustaining themselves for a long time. So usually it's compatible. Trust requires trust. And I'm a good example of that, right? The 2 last girlfriends that I had, they didn't value trust, and there's nothing wrong with that because that's their decision. And who am I to tell them what's important? But for me, it is. And because we didn't have that aligned, it never worked out. Whatever was valuable for them, I don't know what it is. They're not here to say. But for me, the biggest thing in a relationship was not there.
Something.
Yeah.
I think the same.
Okay.
I think the most important thing is like you have to be aligned with that person on values, on hobbies, or what you like to do. Because if you like to go out a lot and your partner likes to stay at home, even if you love each other a lot and you have a great sex, this relationship will not work because you don't like the same things. So
if it's important to you, if it's important, because even let's say you have an extrovert, one is an extrovert, the other one is an introvert, right? Very different. But if they don't care that much about that, they just happen to be an extrovert and introvert, it's not going to affect the relationship. And I know that from first-hand experience because I used to be an introvert and my wife used to be an extrovert. She would go out, she would make me go out.
So, but you would go out with her.
I would.
Yeah. So
even though I didn't like it.
Yeah, you were doing the sacrifice.
I was doing the sacrifice. Yeah.
Yeah, because you knew it was important for her.
And
but some people, they don't want to do it. They just want to stay
because it's important to them.
Yeah.
And introversion at that time, I guess, was not that important to me. What was more important is what I had with her.
Yeah.
So because
and make her happy.
Yeah. If it was important to me, let's say if I was so socially awkward that I could not, that I was just fearful, like a phobia of being with other people, then that would be really important to me, and I would not last with her. No way.
Yeah.
Right. So it has to do with how big the value is.